Hey gang, so we're back for another Q&A video to popular demand. I am joined by the gang. Hey gang.
The gang!
You're the gang.
Hello.
You're my gang now. So I have Deckard here as well as Pann. Actually, let's tell the people about something about us. So I'm based in Montreal, Canada. This is a really, truly international call because we're from 3 different countries, literally. So Pann, where are you located exactly?
I am in the great country of Texas.
Oh, the country of Texas. Like you're going
Yes,
pretty far.
Austin. Yeah,
You're in Austin. Okay. And Deckard, where are you located exactly?
I live in the beautifully scenic South Wales of the United Kingdom.
Wow, that is so exotic. I'm dreaming right now. No, seriously, it's a really nice place. I think I've been there. So today we are going to talk about Demeter quite a lot. So we're recording this between the first and the second weekend of Demeter being on the PTS, and we got a lot of good questions from the community. So we thought, let's do another Q&A and let's answer some of these questions. First, we got a little bit surprised actually. The feedback we got from Demeter was not the one we expected. What we thought was going to be potentially problematic for the community was not what ended up being most of the comments, right?
Absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
We thought the geometry reset was going to be it, and then actually not that much. And I want to take that opportunity to thank all the players who have already filled their request with support. We got a few hundreds of them, so we're going to have to make sure that we have the capacity to run those as fast as possible as soon as Demeter is on.
Yeah, let's do just a real quick little recap for people who may not have been following. Like maybe they've just recently heard about Dual Universe and they haven't taken the plunge yet, and they're just what I call DU curious. So the geometry reset is because up till now, you could mine down through the ground, like just dig tunnels after tunnel after tunnel, and it caused a lot of problems. So what we're doing is going to reset all of that geometry. People who've built things underground, all of the things that they've built will still be there, but what we're going to do is like fill in all that dirt, so we'll need to excavate and take the dirt out. So there you go. That's what the geometry reset is about.
But you can still dig. You can still dig.
You'll still
That's
be
very
able to
important,
dig,
right?
but
You
when
can still
you do,
terraform.
yes, you can still terraform, you can still dig, but you won't get ore when you dig.
And so there's actually, if you go to the website and your construct is buried, there's a support like category in the ticket creation that is I think called buried constructs, something along these lines. And if your construct is buried and you need help with the tool that we've developed, don't forget to go there. So I think we had planned to do that at the end, but scratch that. We've already done the reminder. So lots of questions on topics that we were not necessarily expecting to be really the center of attention for the community. So we're going to try and answer that. So the first few things that we wanted to start with a few reminders. So first is about the reset of the mining talents. I think this one is dear to your heart, Pann, if you want to take that on. That's it. That's the only thing we have to say.
Well, I felt like I wasn't paying attention
talents.
in math class. It was like,
What else does he want me to say?
Board? No, I wouldn't. Yeah, I mean.
Well, yeah, we're funding mining talents. Anything that is in the entire tree of requirements for the old style of mining is being reset. We have had quite a lot of community requests for all the talents.
Yes.
However, we really don't want to do that simply because it will very quickly turn into a situation where every patch we deploy, even because there's a tiny little change, we have to reset all the talents, which is not the intention of talents. You should be, when you claim a talent, you should be locked into that talent. You should have, you should be like considering wisely what you're specializing, yes. Not just doing whatever is the current optimum for the game. You're planning long term. So we don't intend to be resetting everything, but we definitely we are resetting various talents in the event. Like, for example, now in mining, where we where we are completely changing a mechanic fundamentally in that situation.
Right,
Yeah.
which makes those talents completely obsolete.
I mean, it's let's make it clear, it's exceptional. That's because we're making those deep changes to mining. That's why we're doing it. So don't expect, as the messages, don't expect this to come every time, but just keep in mind that we are resetting the mining talents. The second thing we wanted to remind people about is about the something that's coming in Demeter, which is the vertex complexity feedback and the upcoming vertex precision tool, which I absolutely love. I think it's an awesome feature, and I'm really excited about it. So in Demeter, we're not going to implement any changes to how you can build, but you're going to start seeing a meter, I guess, a measure, a gauge in the game that will tell you how complex a certain area of your construct is. And if you start going above what we think is 100% of complexity, then it's going to tell you can still build, right? If I'm not wrong, Deckard, you can still build in Demeter. You can still do something. You can still go above if you want.
Yeah, Demeter doesn't actually apply any limitation. It is just the feedback that shows you where that percentage of these particular chunks in your construct are, just so that you have an early idea of what that complexity is going to be like. It's also a good time for us to get feedback and find constructs that are particularly affected by it, to see if our bar is in the right place, shall we say. And nothing drastic is happening yet. You are still able to build.
But winter is coming. But right after Demeter, I guess. So we'll be actually introducing that limit in a subsequent release. But for now, is just to tell you, and also when we introduce that limit, your constructs will not be. They'll still be working. They'll still be there. It's just you're not going to be able to change them unless you reduce the complexity. And we actually looked at the numbers. There's really not that many constructs in the game that are affected by this, so this should really be mostly affecting the what are they called, the voxel reactors, I think, that some builders use. But in compensation for that, because it's going to indeed limit the ability for players to use those voxel reactors, we're introducing the vertex precision tool. So we're not actually going to cover that too much in details, but there's a video that is, I think, unlisted on our YouTube channel, but you can access it from one of our recent posts on the website, where you can see that vertex precision tool and what it does, and how it really allows you to sculpt a voxel to the shape that you want. And we think it's really going to I keep hitting that mic. We're going to really is really going to make a difference for builders out there. Anything to add? Nope. Okay.
No.
Let's dive into the questions.
Nothing.
What?
I said I got nothing.
You got nothing. Okay,
already.
so let's move on. So the first.
Wait, before questions. Oops.
Sure.
No, let's talk about breaks.
Oh, that's part of the questions. No, that is part of the questions. We had so many questions about breaks.
Right, except on the day that we're filming this, by the time the video is actually out, breaks won't really be an issue anymore. So, but we wanted to go ahead and cover it again for the DU curious, or just people who, haven't been following along and don't know. So go ahead, Seb, please.
So yes, so we're actually not going to quote one of the many questions we had on the subject. I think it's fair to say that we screwed up a little bit. So there's been a long-standing bug related to breaks that we've been meaning to fix. And the problem is that the original intention was that the brakes were supposed to be placed outside of the ship for them to work, okay? But the game was not checking if the brakes were outside of the ship. And so even if they were inside the ship, they were still working. And for a reason that we don't know about, some of that fixing of that problem was merged into the PTS version of Demeter. So it appeared on the PTS last weekend. And a lot of constructs. It was
enthusiasm. Somebody got really excited.
Yes, somebody goes a little bit trigger happy with the with the merging of that part of the code. And so part of that fixing of the problem was merged into the PTS, and so some constructs ended up not breaking properly. So couple of things related to that. First, this was only part of the fix. Second, it was a mistake, shouldn't have been there. As Pann was saying, by the time that this video will be out, this will have been removed from the second weekend of the PTS. Also know that the day that we will implement this change, we will tell you in advance. And you will be given hopefully plenty of time to fix it and anticipate the problem. So sorry about that, guys. Just know that the fix is coming. So there's going to be a change in the brakes at some point. We can't tell you when. But yeah, that change is coming. Deckard, anything to add?
Yeah, no, only that, that was not in the release notes as expected. My bad. I also didn't intercept it until much later, and somebody mentioned it to me. I was like,
I think we should do this. That one. I think we should do this a recurring section of our Q&As. The Deckard walk of shame, and just blame it all on you every time.
Yeah, weren't we talking about things that weren't in the patch notes last time we did this vlog?
Yes, it happens every time.
And these things can indeed get missed. Often they're part of a different fix that goes through, and then because a different thing gets fixed, this happens to be a side effect of that happens to be something that we haven't checked that's gone through. And in this particular case, it just happened to be the obstruction area of the brakes, and we didn't really find out until a lot of community members reported that they were crashing into the ground all over the place.
Yes,
but
so
that's what the PTS is for.
Yes, and in the end, it's just the PTS, so it's hopefully it's okay. Let's move on to mining. We got a lot of questions about mining as well. So first one is from Orth_Tannic. I have been trying to get an answer looking at one of my territory scans. For example, it shows 429.25 kiloliters of coal, but its pool is 0 liter per hour. Does that mean we cannot get that coal? It's a bug,
I can
buddy.
take this one.
Yeah.
It's not a feature, it's a bug.
It's not a feature, it's a bug. It's the opposite that we usually say. This time it's definitely a bug.
So the coal that was in that terrain no longer exists there. So that is actually old information that is still in the stored in the object that is the tiny little data item that you got from your scan. So the information is still in there. However, it's not actually accurate anymore. The new values that you see in the pool, which is the liter per hour, that is the actual resource availability on that tile going forward with Demeter. However, it's not to say that what you're seeing on the PTS is going to be the same as what's going to be on the live server when Demeter comes out.
Yes,
those values will be different.
We're going to use a different seed for the generation of ore underground, so the values will not be the same. Just keep that in mind. So if you see 0 right now in your scan, it doesn't mean that when it goes on production, it's going to be 0. Maybe it's going to be a different value for coal. But yeah, remember, what matters right now in your territory scans is the liter per hour value, not the old value. And actually, we're going to come back to that, but also keep in mind the pool of resources you have on your territory starting with Demeter is going to be infinite. So there's not a limited amount of ore that you can get out of it. It's unlimited, but we'll come back to that. So another question from Star Wars.
I love that name, Star Wars.
Yes, it's funny. For calibrated surface ore spots, could we have markers just appear for their location as soon as you enter the tile? So I guess that player wants a little bit of hand-holding for... maybe we should remind players who are watching this what it's about. So when you do the mini game and you calibrate your mining unit, there is a bunch of ore, surface ore, that will appear at some points on your territories, right? And it's more than what you would usually get from surface gathering. So instead of having to wait for an hour to get your first stack of ore. This is like your instant gratification and your instant pool of ore. But you have to go from your territory or from your mining unit to where the ore actually appeared. So I guess the question is, can we get a marker that says, hey, buddy, this is where your ore appeared, and it's easier to get, right?
X marks the spot, dig here.
Exactly, dig here. So who's taking that? There's a lot of awkward silence in this recording. What's happening, guys?
No, just...
Pam, do you want to take this one?
I think she wants.
Yes, I was hoping you would give me this one. So, yeah, I mean, in theory, that sounds like a great idea to just have markers there, and maybe that would be a good thing for, like, the tutorial when you're first learning how to play. But all in all, it's a pretty simple thing, and once you understand how it works, that you wouldn't need the markers anymore. So, probably, I mean, good idea, but probably not.
Or not a priority, rather. You know, that it may come. It's just...
I wouldn't even think that we would need that later. But.
I think it's one of these things that is just about refining what we are releasing with Demeter, and we're going to say that a couple of times. So this is the first time I'm saying
right.
it.
I mean, yes,
it's just the first version of it. You know, it's just the first iteration.
You got to throw the bucket and the scoop into the sandbox and see what people do with it. Either, like, if they don't pick it up at all, then we know we need a better bucket and a better shovel. But
just
so
you guys know,
point.
Just so you guys know, working with Pann is hearing about very colorful metaphors like that on a daily basis, several times a day, and every time you're like,
relatable.
"Oh my
I'm
god,
trying to be relatable."
Where is she picking those? It's incredible. You know, kind of puts a smile on your face. It makes the meetings with Pann very lively and joyful. You confirm,
anyway,
Deckard?
so yeah, the TLDR here is, yes, that's a great idea, something we would consider. Not going to happen real soon. The main thing is putting those things out there and then seeing what the community does with them, what works and what doesn't work. And it's not just about calibrating ore spots. It's everything that we do, every change that we make in the game, every new addition is all about put something out there, see how it works, see how we need to adjust the knobs or just leave it alone. So this is one of those. Thank you, Star Was. I love your name.
So it's not a no, it's not a yes. It's one of these things that could be an improvement for later. But
yeah, it's your mom saying we'll see.
We need to see. We need to see first what is going to be the feedback from a lot of players on the new mining system, and then if there's nothing else that we need to tweak, then maybe that's going to come soon, and if not, maybe that's for later. So another question from XX Amon XX. Make tile resources infinite or at least renewable via some mechanic. I see a pool value is still in. This may be a placeholder UI. Can NQ please confirm? So that's an easy one. Resources are infinite. That's what it is. They are infinite. You get, for life of sorts. So whatever is in your territory scan or whatever your mining units tell you is what you can extract. And in an unlimited fashion, it doesn't end, which is a huge change from what it was in the past, right?
Right, but just
a massive change.
Let's make sure that people understand it's an unlimited pool of resources, but you can only take out so much per hour.
Yes.
So the most you're ever going to get, if you have the best setup, this is for scenario's sake. Say it's got a maximum pool of 100 liters per hour. No matter how many mining units you have, no matter how cute you're looking that day, any of that, it's just going to pull out 100 liters per hour from that.
If 100 liters per hour is what you get on exactly. That particular pool, so it can be a different number, but so there's a limit to how much you can extract at a given time, but the time is infinite. There's no end to that. So we had hoped this would have been clear from the original vlog. Sorry, it wasn't, and I hope we clarified that for you, XXM1XX. Question from Gottchar. So actually, Gottchar was one of our big contributors when it came to questions. So thank you, Gottchar.
Let me say this about Gottchar. Let me pop in again. Sorry, I feel like Kanye West. Wait, I'm gonna let you finish. First, So Gottchar is a great streamer. He streams on Twitch pretty much every day. Parental warning: his content can be a little adultish, and a lot of times he's not wearing a shirt, but that's not really bad,
Really?
I guess. Yeah, he likes to not wear a shirt, and hey, it's his house, his stream. He can do what he wants. But I just wanted to say, go check out his stream sometime. The dude knows so much more about Dual Universe than most people on the team. I mean, that's all he does. He is like a Dual Universe genius. He's like a human Wikipedia. Very entertaining streams. Great place to go for information if you have questions and whatnot. Like, he knows his stuff.
Just don't watch with your kids. I guess that's the summary.
Or your mom.
So hello, Gottchar, and thanks for all the questions.
Thank
by
you.
the way.
Mwah, I love you so much. Thank
So
you,
first question from Gottchar. In order to find asteroids, you need access to a DSAT, which is tier 3. In order to mine tier 3 via units, you also need tier 3 ore for the advanced auto miner. Will it be impossible to get T3 ore without already existing T3 ore? So that is a very good question, because basically what you're describing is a chicken and egg situation, and you're just wondering which comes first. Is it the chicken or is it the egg? So we will give an answer to that long-standing question. And I feel like when it comes to chicken and eggs, Deckard is the guy.
Yes, so indeed this is a bit of a chicken and an egg and the egg situation. It's a very good analogy, actually. It is indeed currently the case that you would need that particular configuration to get that configuration of ore, and without being able to get to it, yes, what you're saying makes absolute sense, and it is something that we're looking at right now. We'll probably either reduce the tierage of the DSAT to make it more accessible with materials that you can collect from, say, Alioth, and we also might have to look at the structure of how the materials are used to make the mining units themselves. But all those changes that's exactly what the PTS is for. That's so that we can find these things out and go, that's not working the way it should.
It is a great comment, right? How can you build a DSAT is to get the T3, you need a DSAT, but then you need the T3 to build a DSAT. So you know what? So good point. We are going to replace probably is the big word here, with tier 2 ore only that is required to build a DSAT. When is that going to happen? We are looking into if potentially that could be in Demeter, but it's not a promise. And if it doesn't come in Demeter, it's probably going to come right after in a subsequent release, probably maybe even in the same branch, but that's not a promise because the team is looking into it now. What they're looking into is, these recipes for what you use for building, they really tie into how balanced the game is. So whenever we change a recipe, we have to make sure that this doesn't unbalance something else. So this is the work that's currently happening. But yeah, the orientation is you're probably going to just need tier 2 ore to be able to build a DSAT, which in turn will help you get tier 3 and more and above ore. Make sense? Yes? So
makes sense to me. We'll see when the video comes out if people say it makes sense to them.
So that's the question from, I'm not going to pronounce that, WJRM75. Please think long and hard about the scan results. So first, we think long and hard about everything, just so you know. I have many thousands, but agree that rolling the old scans in Demeter will further extend the inequality and do so permanently. Yes, we've spent hundreds of hours gaining these scans, but we also got our rewards from these by getting the richest meganotes. Why compound the already gotten advantage? Full scan wipe, please. So that's one of these situations where we can't win. Like, we feel that we can't win. Whatever we do, we're screwed, and there's going to be half of the people who are unhappy about it. And yeah, it's a tricky one.
Yeah, this kind of stuff reminds me, there's a phrase, I feel like a country dog in the city. If I stand still, they try
Another
to screw
colorful
me. If I run,
analogy.
yeah.
Thank you.
If I run, they try to bite me in the butt. So yeah, that's what this is like. We see this every day where you have the full scan people and the full wipe people and the never wipe people. And seems pretty evenly split. Yeah, this is another one of those situations where we're just not going to be able to find a solution that makes everybody happy. You know, for some people, they have thousands of scans and they're going to want to keep those results. And other people, like resetting the game is more important to them, and that's what they want. So we have to decide where you cut the baby in half.
But there's actually a reason why we opted for not wiping the scans here, and the reason is actually because the wipe no wipe discussion is still happening. So yes, it's still happening. You know, we're making progress, but this is an ongoing, never-ending debate, and because there's this question of wipe that is on the table for the launch of the game. And also because there's just so many changes coming to Demeter. I mean, just the territory management and the no underground mining and mining units, that's a lot of changes in the game. So we thought, let's not just kick the hornet's nest too much and limit the amount of changes that we have with Demeter, knowing that if there's a partial wipe at some point for launch, you know, maybe that will solve the problem of the scan. So for now, no scan wipe for Demeter. Again, please understand that I'm sure if you're on the wipe the scan results side, you think that this is obvious, but there's like a lot of players who, on the other hand, think that it's obvious that we shouldn't be doing that because it's the fruit of their efforts and time that they spent in the game. So it's not an easy discussion, and it's one of those discussions where we feel like whatever we do, there's going to be part of the players that are not happy anyway. So we try and take the best decision at a given time, and here it's because there's already a lot happening with Demeter. So that's we thought we were not going to pile that onto all the changes that we're making. Yes? Moving on. The next question is from Dracostan. Will the number of asteroids both in PvP space and the safe zone be increased, and if so, by how many? And will the spawn time of asteroids be staggered over the week rather than all at once on a weekend? Deckard, this one has your name all over it.
So for the Demeter release, we are increasing the number of asteroids that spawn in the safe zone. I think we've upped it by about 75, if I remember correctly. So there's a considerably larger amount of asteroids now in the safe zone. So for those people that still want to mine in the old-fashioned way, they can entirely do that on safe zone asteroids, and that gameplay routine can carry on there. Regarding the spawn time being staggered over the week, I don't think we currently we have talked about it,
yes.
And I don't think we currently have plans to change it. We want to maintain the shorter time frame near the weekend, where we can essentially create more action throughout the weekend with this process. So we're at this time we are not changing the spawn time frame for the asteroids.
But it doesn't mean that we won't in the future. It's just if you want a short-term answer, like right now we're not changing it, but it's still also something that we're discussing with the game design team. You did a great job. We're going to move on. Evason has asked, can we mine surface ore on unclaimed tiles to help new players also pay for tax? Is it really just to help new players, or really? That's nice. If that's what you do.
I know. I feel like there really should have been a to help new players.
To help new players. But if you do, by the way, great. We thank you for that. That's really cool. we have a community that is mostly friendly, so that's great, especially with new players.
Which is unusual for a game that has PvP in it, I must say.
Yes.
To have people who help new people, but that's what you need. You help. Today's newbie is tomorrow's cannon fodder, so it's in your own best interest to help new players.
I hope you felt gratified by the comment that you're upcoming new player or your future cannon fodder, or you might be the one firing the cannon.
Yeah, you don't know. All right, so yes. Anyway, the answer to this question is yes. You can if you're not on a sanctuary moon, an unclaimed tile on a non-sanctuary planet. You can do it.
So you can surface mine. You can just take that ore and just mind your back and just don't carry too much.
And to confirm, we're talking about, in this particular situation, we're talking about the harvest tool, mining the surface rocks that are on top of the
mining is probably not the right word. You're right. You can harvest. You can harvest the surface ore if you're not on a sanctuary moon and if it's an unclaimed tile. Obviously not if it's a claimed tile. There's another question from Drakistan. It's like the second. Good job, buddy. Are higher tier ores T4 and T5 being deliberately excluded from planetary ore pools? Deckard.
No, they're not deliberately excluded from the planetary ore pools. They should be present on the outer planets. You'll find that the closer you are to to Alioth and the Sanctuary Moon and the safe zone, essentially, the closer you are to that region, the lower the tier materials that you find. The further out you go, you find better and better materials. So they should be on the other planets. However, they are probably considerably rarer than they used to be, and they're quite sparsely populated, but they're absolutely out there.
Sure. So go fetch them. Space_man. Actually, I feel like for the next question we should have a section where there's a little jingle and there's your face on it and there's like Lua question of the day. Because Deckard is a Lua fanatic, right? That's true. That's what we put in the little advertising.
Because I am not.
Yeah, I'm not either.
I like Lua.
So you are, you are a Lua god. So this question from Space_man: will there be any Lua APIs for mining units? So we're introducing the mining units. Actually, when we saw that question, I think I asked, I'm not sure what they would use it for. Maybe display like on the screen next to the mining units, the status of the mining units, what is maybe the mining rate, and etc. So we're going to assume that's the kind of usage that you want to go for. And Deckard, it's another moment for you to shine. Go ahead, go shine.
So, from what I know, and I'm kind of grasping at straws here because I haven't worked myself on the implementation of this. However, I believe we have 4 functions coming to the mining unit to query its state, whether it's running or not, to get the current mining rate of the mining unit, to get the currently mined ore of the unit, and lastly, the territory pool, how much is used and how much is free. That's just off the top of my head at the moment, so I may not be 100% accurate.
I don't know if you mentioned it. There's the state of the mining unit as well.
Yes, yeah, that's the first one I mentioned, I think.
Cool.
Whether it's running or not, yes.
So, but these are not necessarily accessible to the players right now, right? These are the information that can be queried like on the dev server, but not necessarily will be available right now on Demeter.
Probably they might not be available on the PTS right now, and they might not immediately be available when Demeter comes out, simply because we're working on... The first thing we're working on is the functioning of the mining unit itself. Once we're happy with that, then we start plugging in extra Lua bits and pieces here and there, because they're essentially an additive to the mining unit itself. So they will come. Can't tell you when though.
Deckard, I think when you move a lot, your mic makes a lot of noise.
Oh, sorry.
Just so you know. So yeah, this is my second reminder. Remember, it's just the first iteration. We're making a lot of changes, so there's probably going to be improvements and tweaks in the mining units. There was another question before about whether we can add a marker for all the ore that gets dropped when you've done your calibration. This is something that is probably more for the near future because the information is already there. So depending on the feedback we get from Demeter and what we need to tweak and change afterwards, if it's all fine and it's all good, we'll get to these things pretty quickly. If there's more fundamental changes that need to happen, then it's probably going to come right after. But these 4 pieces of information from the mining units are probably coming pretty soon, maybe at Demeter or right after, if things go well. Oh, next topic. This the big one. Taxes. Taxes. So brace yourselves, guys. That's that's the hard one. Okay, so this is not actually a question from one person in particular. This is a question from about 1,000 people.
More than 1,000.
More than
Unhappy.
1,000.
More than
Taxes.
1,000
Questions about this
unhappy
one.
people.
We don't want
Yeah.
taxes. They're too expensive. I think I've heard that in real life as well a couple of times.
Yeah,
We
we're
don't want
evil.
taxes.
Yeah.
They're
We're
too
evil. We should never be
expensive.
allowed to have children. We're horrible, horrible people.
I know. 1 million
taxes
per
are
hex
bad.
is too much. We are evil, and we didn't think about it. Well, actually, we thought about it, and but we need to tweak something here. So that's we've got good news for you. So stay tuned right after the advert. We've got some good news for you guys. Just first as a general like keep in mind thing. Remember that resources are infinite in the game now. Okay, so it used to be that they were finite. Now they're infinite. So when you have your territory, you can mine to your heart's contempt for eternity and beyond, and just continue to just get ore. So, as you can imagine, in a game, when you've got unlimited resources like that, you need to have resource sinks as well, okay? And we probably don't have enough resource sinks right now in the game, and that's something that we're working on. PvP is a great resource sink. So taxes is one of the ways that we can get a resource sink. It's not the only one, because one of the reasons for the taxes is to avoid a lot of land grabbing, okay? So just people, especially the reach players in the game, just going and getting all the tiles and getting more and more revenue from a lot of mining and etc. And then it becomes really impossible for the more modest players or the new players. So that's something we're trying to avoid. But keep in mind that we need those resource sinks. Nevertheless, it is true that we have players who don't necessarily want to mine, right? They just want to have a place to hang out and chill and come back, and it's their base and it's their lair, and maybe they're not interested in mining. They just want to do something else, and they're not interested in optimizing their mining. But for these players, we are planning something. So there's third time I'm hitting the mic. For these players, there's good news coming. But keep in mind as well that if you do mine your tiles properly, like for the players who actually want to use them for mining, you will get more from mining your tile with your mining units than you will pay in taxes. So mining tiles is going to be profitable for players. But yeah, for the ones who are not interested in mining and just want like a headquarter of sorts, we've got good news for you guys. Who wants to be the bearer of good news?
I can take this one. So we do indeed, like we have a few different a few different types of players. We have players who want to mine, we have players who want to build, we have players that just want to sculpt things. Yet at the same time we have to create this sort of environment that works for everybody, and that also doesn't just swim out and pool out. So we're considering an option to give players, the name is still somewhat work in progress, but essentially a set of headquarters territories that they can claim that are untaxed, which give them the ability to take a small section of terrain on any planets they want to, really, and it'll likely be a global limit across all of the planets. So if you have 5, you can place one on Alioth, one on Sinan, one on Ion, wherever you want, and that way you can own a selection of territory without it being taxed at all. They wouldn't be taxed, they also wouldn't become abandoned, and it would allow you to own that bit of territory to build your own things on without that concern that it might get lost. But if you want more territory and you want to expand and stuff, then there is a cost involved with that. You have to work to keep that terrain. Otherwise, everybody would just expand outwards without limits, and that doesn't work. So yes, that's that little bit of
and as a side note, even before we make that implementation, if you go to a sanctuary moon, I think the tiles on the sanctuary moon are not being taxed. So
correct.
if you wanna grab a piece of land on the sanctuary moon right now and you don't want to have to pay taxes, this is like a special tax-free island for you guys in the game. And that headquarter territory thingy that you just talked about, this is something that we might add to Demeter, but maybe not. So it might come in a subsequent release within the same branch. So, soon after or something like that. So bottom line, to recap what we just said, first, we did do the math, and the amount of taxes is based on the outcome you can get on a tile, and to make sure that first there's a resource sink in the game. Also to make sure that it can still be profitable for you as a player. The design for that is not just the resource sink. It's also to avoid the land grabbing and people just getting a lot of resources from getting a lot of tiles. And we're going to add probably headquarter territories, which are going to be tax-free even outside of the sanctuary moons, but we can't tell you exactly when. And in the meantime, go to the sanctuary moons. This is a tax-free zone.
Okay, there's just two things I wanted to say very quickly before we're still talking about taxes, but before we move on from this part of it. The first thing I wanted to say is, a territory that's properly mined and you're like getting the fullest potential out of it, the revenue that you get from that is still going to be more than whatever the taxes are. So keep that in mind. And then another thing that I wanted to say is, when we started to talk about the taxes and we were chuckling, I don't want anybody to get the impression that, we've made the players angry. Isn't this hilarious? Like, it's never hilarious when the community is upset about something or we introduce something.
It just gives you more work on top of it. So
the reason that I was chuckling is that although people are angry, sometimes the way that they convey that anger is pretty funny. Like, they will say some, and so when I chuckle, it's because I remember a very creative way that someone may have told me to go die in a fire. So I just wanted to clear that up. I'm not laughing because you're upset.
Nice.
I'm laughing because of how you tell me that you're upset.
And I just said that we have a nice community. So obviously
we do. But you know what? That's part of it. That's the passion. That's the love for the game. It's like, I love this game. I want to play this game, but you are making it impossible for me to do that because you did this thing, and I'm going to tell you why I'm angry. I love those kind of players, even though sometimes I may not love how they say things to me, but that is more helpful to us, where we can identify that there's a problem and maybe we need to address it, than somebody who just gets angry and leaves and they don't say anything. I can't fix what I don't know is broken. So yeah.
And that's one thing we're doing as well in these recordings, is we're trying to explain why we're doing things a little bit. So I know sometimes when you look at it from the perspective of a single player who is doing a particular type of gameplay, you could be thinking like, why the hell are you doing this? And what are you thinking, and etc. Well, there's actually, this game is such a delicate balance. I mean, it's a systemic game, so we're not building content, we're building systems, right? And all the systems are intertwined. They're all connected with each other. So, and every time you touch something, you have to make sure that, it doesn't crumble somewhere else. And we really have a lot of systems in the game at the moment, so it's not an easy thing. It's like a house of cards. It's exactly like a house of cards, and every time you move something, you have to make sure that the house of cards doesn't just crumble. And believe us, it's a really delicate balance. And things like, you'd be surprised. We've got incredibly smart people in the team, including people who are really good at math, like the level of math that I would never ever understand. And they make very sophisticated calculations, and they look at the numbers, and they don't do things by randomly. But in this particular case, it was thought really with mining players in mind, so miners. And we do need to address the point for players who are not miners.
That is a perfect segue into the next question.
Before we go
Don't
to the
Panic.
next question,
Yes.
one
Yes,
more
sir.
thing I want to add, because I do know we had this question. I don't think we address it, is that I just want to mention that space stations are not taxed.
Yes.
It's only territories.
Because they're not on
space
the
stations.
territory, right? They're not on the
Exactly.
territory, so they're not taxed. The tax is based on land.
Yes, correct.
Except
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that that's part of the answer for one of the upcoming questions, but I don't think that we can over communicate that.
And I think I'm going to start calling the sanctuary moons the duty-free zone. That sounds like it's appropriate. So, moving on to the next question from Don't Panic. Actually, I love that name. It's a pretty cool name. What will happen to the owner's dynamic constructs located on territories if the tax is not paid? I know in the last video, I think Kira, said something bad things will happen if you don't pay your taxes on your territory. So we're going to give it a little bit more details. And Pann, I think you want to be the one taking that on, or am I mistaken?
You know, what is this with you appointing people? Like, why can't we just, like...
You want to appoint me? I can do it. It's fine. It's okay. Appoint me. Me. I want to answer that question.
Yeah, this one, honestly, like, I got a little kind of, when I was going through this. So if somebody else wants to do it, that would make more sense.
I can take this one.
Thank you.
So,
I will let you.
What happens to construct? What was the question? It was what happens an owner's dynamic.
You know what?
I'll do it.
Is
It's okay.
part of
I'll do
answering
it. I'll do it. So there's a tax system now on the territories where you have to fill like the wallet of your territories with Arthur and Quantas, and I think it's every month you have to pay a tax for the territory. And so if you don't pay the tax, at some point, the territory will become unclaimed. So you will lose the ownership of the territory. And the question is, once you've lost the ownership of the territory, what happens to your constructs that are based on that land, right? So the way this is going to work is, as soon as you've lost ownership, and somebody is claiming the tile that you used to own, right? So if I believe if nothing is claiming the tile, nothing is happening. Your constructs are still there, and you can come and you can just claim them again. But if that territory that you used to own is now unclaimed and somebody comes and claims the territory, it means that they have the ownership of the land, but it's your constructs on the land. So in that case, it starts a 2-week time frame with a little asterisk with 2 weeks. So we think it's 2 weeks, but this could be subject to change in the future if we think it's not enough. Or yes, Deckard, go ahead.
Before that 2-week period starts, the new owner of the tile can go to the static constructs and we're talking static constructs right now. They're on the territories, and should be able to right-click. I think it's going to be a right-click context menu, but I'm not 100% sure on that one yet. And can requisition the construct. That once that requisition has started, that opens a 2-week time frame for the old owner to come and reclaim their construct, take it apart, remove it from the tile, etc. They have 2 weeks time to remove it. If they don't do that in the 2-week time frame, then the ownership transfers to the new tile owner, and so they have the rights to the construct. That's a good point.
So that was my mistake. You're right. It's not as soon as the new player claims the territory, is they have to claim the territory, and they have to, because they own the territory, they have to requisition the construct, and that triggers the 2-week window, which, by the way, could be changed in the future. It could become less. It could become more. And if you're going to get warned as a player when you connect and you log in, I believe. And then you can go and you can get your constructs back. And if you do that within the 2-week time frame, then the player owns your old tile is going to become the new owner of these constructs, right?
Correct.
So we think that this is a good balance because it still provides a safety net for players who will be able to recover their assets, But at the same time, it's a way for somebody who claims a tile to just really not have constructs that they don't want on their tile being removed after a while. So we think it's a good middle ground. Again, we'll see when we use it, when players use it, if there's more to it that needs to be tweaked and changed. So we've actually come to the end of the section about the Demeter plans. There was one last question that we wanted to cover. From Gottchar. Hey, Gottchar again. Any plans to add anything to the game that is fun to do and at the same time brings an amount of resources? So, yes. The answer is yes.
Yes.
There are plans.
So we're going to add some more missions and, we've got more stuff to add to the roadmap. In fact, we slid an update in. Selene wasn't on the roadmap.
That's true.
So we slid that one in.
Bonus update.
So we do need to update the roadmap, which is always a great thing. But sometimes we need to put a little space in there and make sure that we understand when we can get something out into an update. So like you've seen with Demeter, it's like, well, we didn't mean to put that in there and it accidentally got in there, and there's some other stuff that we're not sure if we want to put it in there. We don't want to do too much at once because people don't like change. That's number one. Players don't like to have everything all dropped on them at once. Give me some time to adjust to this, see how this feels. And then also sometimes it's just a matter of we may want to put 20 things into a release and it's just not feasible. So yes, we have plans to add more missions, and yes, we are going to update the roadmap so you can see more of that. Yes,
it's actually in the roadmap. In the current roadmap, we have in the undefined area where it's not affected to a particular release. We said that we're gonna add more challenges and missions, and there's going to be more features that are not challenges and missions in the future. But as you probably noticed, the current roadmap only covers 2021. So early 2022, we know we will come back with an updated roadmap, and we'll just present the releases that will come after that. And so stay tuned. There will be more. Yes, there will be more things to do. That's coming. We're not done with updating the game yet.
It's also worth mentioning for those players that ask us to extend the current roadmap further and further and further, that we try to keep the roadmap reasonably, especially now, quite compact, simply because the further we extend that roadmap out, the less reliable the end section becomes, because things are changing all the time. We add something new comes into the process, something falls out of the process. So the further along on the roadmap you go, the further away it is in time, and the more things can change there. So the more compact it is, the more accurate it ends up becoming.
So it's always a balance between giving visibility to players so they know what's coming, and at the same time having a roadmap that's actually reliable. And also, I should add, Demeter is a big update, and when we do a big update like this one that changes a lot of fundamental things in the game, we have to make sure that we've got a little bit of wiggle room to change the plans based on the feedback. And that's one thing we want to be able to do. Is we've got our ideas, we've got our our plans in our head, and etc. But we adapt them, and we've actually, I think, added 2 releases, if I'm not mistaken, this year that were not in the roadmap, based on feedback from players, based on maybe some features that were ready a little bit in advance, and so we'll give you a taste of what's coming in 2022 at the beginning of the year. And you'll get more visibility, and there's going to be more features for Gottchar and for the other players. Don't worry. But at the same time, we want to keep a little bit of flexibility. So this is the part of the Q&A that I'm supposed to lead, and it's
this is all you, sir.
This is all on me.
Part of this.
Business stuff, Sesch, you take care of it. Okay, so I have a few announcements when it comes to pricing, but pricing in general for Demeter. And I'm gonna dive head on. So we're gonna make changes to pricing for the launch of Demeter. I don't. There's some good news in there. Seriously, there's good news in there. There's not just price increases. So first we're gonna increase the price of the subscription, but we are going to make sure that we keep our promise of the $6.99 price for the beta. So you will still be able to pay $6.99 for a month of subscription to Dual Universe, but it used to be that you were getting that price for the 3-month package, and now you're going to have to pay for a full year if you want to get the $6.99. So that's the first change, and I'm talking in euros and US dollars. The prices are different if you are in Canada, in the UK, where we also have set prices. So we've also changed the way the pricing structure is for the different packs, so that it's easier for players to see the economies, like the savings that they have when they buy, a longer period of time. And the good news is we're officially introducing the 1 month plan. So it's going to be on the website. And if you want your friends to come and try the game, or if you're just curious about the game and you don't want to pay for 3 months, we are introducing officially the 1 month plan, and it's going to start at $9.99, and then it's going to be decreasing from $9.99 to $6.99. So $9.99. And
oh, sorry, I just wanted to mention that you could use your refer a friend.
Yes.
Or recruit a friend for this. Yeah, just make sure that
exactly.
that people know, even for the 1 month thing, right?
That's a good reminder. So if you want to recruit some of your friends and they don't want to pay for 3 months up front, they can now pay just for a month. So 1 month is going to be at $9.99. Then 3 months, you're going to pay $8.99 per month. Then 6 months, you're going to pay $7.99 per month. And then 12 months, you're going to pay $6.99 per month. So you can still pay $6.99. You're just going to have to commit to a year. And the good news is, for the new players or those who are uncertain, you can now pay for a month for $9.99, which I should add, that's still way below, what MMOs out there are charging to players. So we think we're staying true to our commitment standard. to being accessible. In particular for the beta, you can still get $6.99. We're just making these adjustments. The good news is we're launching 1 month, and I got good news for Australian players. Hey, Australian players. We are setting the price in Australian dollar. So, for Dual Universe, there's just some currencies where the price is set, and that's the Canadian dollar, the US dollar, the euro, and the British pound. So anybody who pays in these currencies, they pay in that price. And for the other players who are, in Russia and in Brazil, they actually pay in euro or in US dollars. And that used to be the case for Australia. So we're going to set the price for Australian players. And so that price will not fluctuate over time, because you're not going to be paying in euro or paying in US dollars. And there's one last thing.
Fair dinkum.
Yes, that's good for them, because it's adding more certainty to the price of the subscription. And also, if you are in one of these countries where the price is not set for Dual Universe, right now you're defaulted to euro or US dollars. And we're going to add something on the website where you can select the currency that you want to pay in. So if you're, a Russian player, and so far you didn't have the choice, you had to pay, I think, in euros. So you're going to be able to say, hey, I want to pay in euro, in British pound, or in US dollar, or in Canadian dollar, or in Australian dollar. So these are the changes. Another change coming to Demeter, and leave us a comment. Subscribe, tell us everything, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of feedback. Obviously, as we said, we're adjusting our business based on all the learnings from the beta. We're making a lot of changes on the back end to reduce the cost of running Dual Universe, and it's normal when you're in a beta. You're trying to you're adjusting your assumptions of how much it's going to cost to run the game versus the reality. And on the other end...
Can we talk about that for just a second? Because
sure.
One of the comments that I've seen from a lot of people in the community, where they feel like we've almost highlighted too much, that the reason some of the changes are happening are as cost-cutting measures for Novaquark. The thing, and And I get that. I get why they would say, hey, what's in this for me? You're just doing this for yourself. Actually, no. Our attention to being good caretakers of money that's invested in us, whether it's from companies that invest or from individuals who, buy a subscription or they backed us on Kickstarter. Us being careful with that money is part of like our pledge to you and what we need to do to make sure that the game is around for a long time. We should be careful with that money, and that's why it's important to you. Us being careful with the money isn't just about, hey, how much money can we make, but it's how much runway do we have? Let's make sure that we're going to get this game published, and that once it's published, it's going to be there for a long time.
And it's also, I think, a matter of trying to be transparent. So not hiding the fact that's one of the reasons why we make some of the changes. And I'm thinking about the removing of underground ore.
Right,
is financial, but it's not the only one actually. And one of the big feedbacks that we got from, especially from the early times of the beta, was that a lot of players just didn't want to mine. They just thought it wasn't an interesting gameplay and it wasn't super interesting. So we the reason why we make that change is for financial reasons, also for gameplay reasons. But we just didn't want to hide the fact that there's a financial reality behind it. So we're trying to be transparent about this. Just like we're transparent about the changes in pricing that are happening with the launch of Demeter. And I'm going to conclude on that. I forgot to say something I forgot to say something very important
Sesch
about pricing.
Afraid I'll keep talking.
No, there's something very important about the pricing. If you have a subscription by the time we launch Demeter, your subscription price will not change, at least until the end of the beta, okay?
Oh, yeah.
So if you bought a 3-month package at the price that it currently is on the website, you will not see an increase when your subscription renews. You will keep the old price for as long as you keep your subscription active, okay? But if you stop subscribing and then you start your subscription again because you like what we add to the game, then you're going to have to go with the new price. So for the current players, don't freak out because of the changes in pricing. You're safe. You're going to keep the current price, the old price. And by the way, if you are on the fence about trying Dual Universe, now's the time to buy your subscription, because in a few weeks, it's going to be costing you a little bit more. So you might want to jump on the bandwagon now and have fun with us now. And that's pretty important. So current players, don't freak out. Your pricing is not changing, at least until the end of the beta, and then we haven't made a decision for what's going to come for launch. And I think that is the end of our show. Thank you, gang. Thanks for being here. Every time we say we're going to make it quick, and it lasts like an hour. We just have so much fun together.
I want to say thank you to everybody that posted questions on the forum. Man, there were so many questions and
so much feedback.
A lot of feedback. So we read through all of it. A lot of the questions were along the same lines, so we kind of put those together. So I'm sorry if we didn't answer your question, but please don't be discouraged. Keep that feedback coming. Keep answering keep asking those questions. We'll keep trying to answer them.
And we know we selected some questions from specific players, and there's probably 10 or 15 players who asked a fairly similar question, and we didn't quote them on the show. But we want to really thank everybody for all the questions, and also actually, we want to thank the players for coming to the PTS last weekend, because we got a lot more players on the PTS, and that was great for testing Demeter. So it's really helped us. It's really helped us. So we hope there's going to be even more players for this second weekend coming. Yes,
absolutely.
But the second weekend would have happened by the time the video goes out.
Yes,
so
it's kind of a return to the future type of thing where we know these things will happen when we release, but it's complicated. So we're gonna jump back. We're gonna jump back in the DeLorean and go back to the future. So thanks, gang. It's been a blast. Thanks to our awesome players for all the good questions. Thanks for all the comments you're gonna leave down there. Be nice to Pann. Don't worry.
They're
see
always
you soon.
nice to me.
Bye, guys.
Thank you very much,
Bye.
everyone. Bye.
Ciao.